Storytime, the biggest lie I ever got away with as a teenager. So my sister and I were going to spend the weekend at my stepdad's, and I asked my parents if I could bring a friend. My dad said he didn't care, and my stepmom said no. And my parents were really strict. But obviously I did not listen. So I invited my friend, and her parents were also really strict. So we came up with this elaborate plan that I would ask her parents and tell them that it was a surprise for her. And they believed it. So the day comes whenever we're supposed to leave to go up to my stepdad's. So, we get off the bus, walk to my house, and my stepmom was asleep because she worked night shifts. So I was able to sneak my friend through the house to my bedroom. Little did she know she was going to have to hide in the closet. So my stepmom came in and needed to borrow a pair of socks for work. And I was literally guarding the closet with my life. And she goes, "Get away from the closet, you're acting so suspicious. What's in there?" Like for part 2, by the way, Stacy and Candace, if you see this, my bad. Okay, part 2, sorry for keeping you guys waiting. So she literally pushes me out of the way, goes and looks in the closet, and stands there for a whole minute. And me, I'm over here having an anxiety attack. My sister's looking at me, making like hand gestures, basically saying, "What is she looking at?" And I'm literally sitting there, and I get to peek in the closet, and my friend is not there. And I'm like, where did she go? And then she starts moving things around in the closet. So she didn't see anything, and she goes to walk out of my room, and she goes, "You guys are so weird." And I run over to the closet like, where is she? And she pops out of this box that is literally in plain sight and goes, "Is she gone yet?" And trust me, I know this doesn't sound like a big thing to get away with, but whenever you have strict parents and they're looking for somebody in literally a 5-foot space, oh honey. This was a big deal for me. And tonight is going to be the night that my stepmom actually sees this.
I made my substitute teacher cry. Story time. So when I was in 3rd grade, my class was evil, straight evil. And every time we had a substitute teacher, my class would make that person's life miserable. So one day, our regular school teacher was out, so we got a substitute teacher. By the way, Miss Hathaway, if you see this, I am so sorry. So in the beginning of class, she was trying to take attendance, but nobody was responding to her. Some of the kids were even telling her to shut up, and others were crumpling up pieces of paper and throwing them at her. Not me though, I was a good kid. And you could tell she was so frustrated that her eyes were even watery, but she continued to do attendance. And eventually she gets to my name, but she pronounces it wrong. And she's like, "Is Taytoon here? Anyone named Taytoon?" And I knew she was trying to pronounce my name, so I look at her and I'm like, "It's Tai-Tun." And she starts bawling and she's like, "Cut me some slack, Tai-Tun. You guys are so mean."
My friend tried to kill me. Story time. In middle school, I had this friend named Tanya. She was a class prankster. She would always prank me all the time. Sometimes she took her pranks too far. Like one time she was spending the night and she put hair removal cream in my shampoo bottle. But immediately I noticed the smell was different, so I didn't put it in my hair. She thought it was so funny, but I didn't. Because if I would have put it in my hair, I would have literally been bald. And I wouldn't have wanted to go to school if that happened. So I decided to prank her and get her back. So we were sitting at lunch and I told her her shoes were untied. And I asked her to let me tie her shoes for her. But I ended up tying her laces from each shoe together. So when lunch period was over, we all got up. But when she stood up to walk, she trips because of how I tied her shoes together. And the whole cafeteria saw and laughed at her. She was so mad at me. I wasn't expecting everyone to see. I kind of felt bad that she was embarrassed. So I apologized to her, but she just gave me a mean look. Stay tuned for part 2. Part 2. So after she gave me the mean look, she started to untie her laces. I leaned down to help her, and she was like, "No, I got it. Go to class." So I went to class, and the day went by as usual. I seen her after school standing on the sidewalk talking to her friends. So I went over to say hi because we usually walked home together. When she seen me, she smirked at me and continued the conversation with her friends. So I stood by them awkwardly, just looking. I started looking down the street and a bus was coming down the street towards us. As soon as the bus was going to pass us, she pushed me in the street so that I would get hit by the bus. but I ended up tripping on the curb and falling about an inch short of being ran over.
I cracked his head open. Story time. When I was in high school, I used to babysit kids, and as you know, sometimes kids can be a handful. Sometimes they don't listen, sometimes they throw tantrums, and sometimes they talk a lot. And unfortunately, I used to babysit my cousin, and he was one of those kids who liked to talk a lot. So one day when I was babysitting him, he was talking my ears off. And he was asking me all these questions like, why is the carpet that color? Why do you have blinds on your window? Why? And I was getting annoyed, so eventually I just shooed him away. And he left, but he only left for like 5 to 10 minutes. And he's like, I'm bored. I want to play a game with you. And I'm like, what game do you want to play? And he tells me that he wants to play Superman. And in this game, all I would do was pick him up and throw him onto the couch so he could feel like he was flying. So I started throwing him onto the couch. Well, the last time I threw him, his head hit the wooden frame on the couch. And when he got up, there was blood coming from the back of his head. There was a giant hole on the back of his head.
Girls, tell me about a time where your quick thinking probably saved your life. I'll go first. 2 years ago, I was walking my dog at the park and a man approached me and asked to take a picture of her. And I said yes, because why not? It's a picture of a dog. So he starts taking a picture of my dog, and then I realized that he was like holding up her collar, and then it hit me. My address is on that collar. He's not taking a picture of my dog, he's taking a picture of my address. So I told him that I actually didn't feel comfortable with him having a picture of my dog, and I asked him to delete it. So he deletes it and then like starts walking away really fast. And I was like, excuse me, sir, no, could you also go into your deleted album and delete it from there? And he goes, I don't have a deleted album. And I was like, you have an iPhone, everybody has a deleted album, could you please delete the picture? And he was like, sorry, I don't have a deleted album, and like keeps walking away. And keep in mind, this is like 2 p.m. in a park, like there's other people around. So now I'm like chasing after him and I'm telling him, sir, I know you have the album, I will show you where the album is, can you please go onto your phone so that we can delete the picture? Oh, part two, I'm sorry for the delay. So I'm still chasing after him, and people at the park are like starting to look at us now because I'm chasing after him and I'm telling him to stop walking. And so he stops, and I tell him again to delete the photo from the deleted album, and he goes, I don't have a deleted album. And I was like, yes, you do. Everybody does. It'll take 10 seconds. And he goes, fine. And he like goes on his phone, does something for a second. He goes, there, it's gone. And I was like, could I see the deleted album just to make sure it's gone? And he goes, no, you can't look at my phone. And I was like, I don't want to look at your phone. I just want to see the album just to make sure the picture is gone. That's it. And he goes, no, you're not going to look at my phone. And I was like, sir, I'm not going to stop and I'm not going to leave until you show me the album. So please just show me the album so we can be done with this. So he shows me the album. The picture was still there. So I made him delete it in front of my eyes. What if I hadn't noticed that he took a picture of my address? And what if I went home that day and, you know, that night when I took my dog out to pee, he was outside waiting for me